It's that time again. Top 10 of the year. Today we're going to be ranking the top 10 best films of 2024. I love this list. It's a weird list of movies, that's for sure. But I always have to start off this annual list with honorable mentions. So these are the movies that I really loved, I just couldn't quite place in my top 10. I saw The TV Glow, Gladiator 2, Inside Out 2, Furiosa, a Mad Max saga, the superhero movie Deadpool, and Wolverine. There are a couple of movies I still haven't been able to check out yet, like The Brutalist, Baby Girl, Better Man, and Sing Sing. So let's jump into the top 10 movies of 2024. Number 10 goes to Hitman. I'm a big fan of Glenn Powell. I love Richard Linklater. I think he's one of my favorite filmmakers. Dazed and Confused is one of my favorite films of all time.
It'd be a lot cooler if you did.
So the fact that he wrote and directed this alongside writing with Glenn Powell for this movie, I loved this flick. I thought this was a really funny, inventive, dark, humorous movie that combines all these different ingredients and themes and different tones and styles and sort of mix them into this potpourri of film. I thought was one of the most creative and inventive movies of 2024. Now, I get the ending of this movie isn't the greatest, and yes, it doesn't hold up on multiple rewatches, but the first time I saw this movie in theaters, I was blown away. I loved it. I thought it was hilarious. It's got great cinematography, an awesome story, and wonderful performances at the front of it. Number 9 goes to Love Lies Bleeding. This is like my favorite thriller of the year. It's a dark, neo-noir, crime, revenge kind of movie, and Katie O'Brien and Kristen Stewart are phenomenal in this flick as our two leads, plus a great rounded cast of like Ed Harris, Dave Franco, and just a bunch of really solid performances in a messed up story. I love the setting of this movie, the 80s vibe you get, yet it's a really dark approach to this like weird love story, revenge story, and ultimately I think the ending doesn't quite nail, the landing, I should say. But ultimately, if you can get over that last 5 minutes of this movie, I think this is probably one of the most enjoyable, visually striking films of 2024. Number 8 goes to Thelma, which is probably the funniest movie I'd seen this year, or one of the funniest movies, and one of the biggest surprises.
Surprise!
Think like the movie The Beekeeper with Jason Statham meets Ocean's 11 with an old lady as our main character. That is exactly what this movie is. It is a quirky, funny, thrilling heist revenge movie that just gets all the funny bones in the right places. June Squibb as her starring role, like someone who's in her early 90s, and she deserves it. I thought she is amazing in this movie. And then the supporting cast is great as well. Parker Posey, Fred Herschlinger, I think I'm saying his name wrong, but they are just great in this movie. And I think it is one of those movies you can watch with family, friends, young ones, old ones, anyone, and they will really enjoy this movie. This was kind of like the surprise movie of 2024 for me personally. Number 7 goes to The Wild Robot. I absolutely needed to get an animated feature on this list. For me, the one that I enjoyed the most, I thought was the most original story, was the most beautiful on screen, had the best comedy, some of the best characters, and of course, a beautiful lead performance by Lupita Nyong'o. It has to go to The Wild Robot. I was considering this, maybe Inside Out 2, maybe Transformers 1, but ultimately The Wild Robot came out on top. Even though I'm not a parent yet, this movie meant a lot to me, and it felt like the old school sort of Disney. This is one of the best DreamWorks films that they've made in the last 20 years. That's right up there with Shrek, How to Train Your Dragon, and I think The Wild Robot is deservedly right up there at the top. Number 6 goes to Challengers. This is, for me, my favorite Luca Guadagnino film he's ever done. I think it has some of the best sports scenes in a movie this year, maybe even in the last 5 years. Some of those tennis scenes, especially that match at the end, wow, wow, wow. Then the cast, from Zendaya to Josh O'Connor to Mike Feist, they are amazing in this movie. They give some of the best performances of the year, interesting and thrilling all at once, and also sexy but hilarious as well. And I love that this movie combines all of those to make a great Luca Guadagnino movie. Number 5 goes to Wicked. I would sing right now, but I'm losing my voice from getting over being sick.
Memory all alone in the moonlight.
Stop.
But Wicked is one of my favorite musicals of all time. I wasn't really anticipating this film based on the trailers, and boy was I wrong. They put me in my place. Both Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo are phenomenal in this movie, and I think that they just brought so much gravitas and charm and wit to their roles. I really appreciate what they did with this movie. Yes, it's not maybe the best made movie of the year, but considering what they had to do and the challenges of this film, the challenges of turning this beautiful hit Broadway musical into a massive movie success, was quite the feat. And I think John M. Chu and his crew did a great job. Some of the best dancing and singing in a movie musical this year. Hopefully we'll see them at the Oscars. If you're a musical theater fan, I don't see why you wouldn't also agree with me that this is one of the best movies of the year, and honestly one of the most entertaining ones of the year too. Number 4 goes to Snack Shack. This is one of those surprise films, again, that kind of came out of nowhere and took me by storm. I love coming of age movies, so this is kind of my genre. The fact that it's a comedy and a drama, but it really dives deep into the comedy. I love this kind of movie. I thought the two characters were hilarious. Of course, Gabriel LaBelle gives a standout performance yet again. He's having one hell of a year with this and Saturday Night. Their friendship drove this movie, made it so sweet and funny and engaging, made me feel like back when I was a kid, when I was a teenager, hustling, making my own businesses. And I just appreciate what this movie did. And also, it gets you in the heart, and it's such a beautifully directed, written film. I think it is one of those surprise successes. I think it's going to be one of those cult classics in 5-10 years, and people are going to look back and go, Snack Shack was a treat in 2024. Number 3 goes to Anora. Sean Baker has never been better. He is at the top of his game with this film. He just created this beautiful artistic film that is equal parts funny, harrowing, sad, and beautiful, all rolled into one. Wow, this movie is a trip. And I remember seeing this in the theaters, and I know the movie's over 2 hours and 20 minutes, yet it feels like an hour and 45 because it just moves at such a fast pace. The performances from Mikey Madison is just unbelievable, and the rest of the cast is astonishing too. I love the visuals, the way that this movie looks and made me feel by the end of the movie. I think it is quite the adventure trip worth checking out. Number 2 goes to Civil War. Yes, even though this came out back in March or April this past year, I still think it's the movie that has affected me the most. The political landscape of everything, plus with this year's, US election. I just think this movie has a lot to say, and Alex Garland does it in a very direct, head-on approach, yet still creates a really interesting character piece, a great action movie, a great epic adventure across a wasteland of America. It has some grueling moments. It's got some beautiful moments. The cast is amazing, led by Kirsten Dunst, Jesse Plemons, Kaylee Spaney, and everyone else in this movie is just amazing. I think the performances, the directing, the writing, the action pieces, the way that this movie is shot, the cinematography, the editing, it just created this great under 2 hour action adventure thriller movie, like a product of its time, but such an important tale to tell. For me, this is one of the most action-packed movies of the year, the most interesting and original scripts of the year, one of the best made movies of 2024.
The best of the best of the best, sir. Yeah, with honors.
And last on this list, the #1 movie of 2024 shouldn't come as any surprise to anyone, but it is Dune Part 2. I was a huge lover of the first Dune. I made that movie as my favorite film of that year, and so Part 2 being significantly better than Part 1, of course, Dune Part 2 is going to be at the top of my list. My Canadian brother, Denis Villeneuve, and his team are just back and even better than ever. I thought the action, the acting, the suspense, the storytelling, the editing was just so much better in this movie than even compared to the first one. This is one of the only movies this year for me that got an A or higher for ranking. This movie just absolutely smashes. It was a great box office success. It was a wonderful critical darling, and audiences loved it too. Of course, all the actors are great. This movie actually made me a fan of Timothée Chalamet. I love sci-fi movies. I love action movies. I love huge epic storytelling. And if you could combine all of those and do all three really well, you're gonna have my vote for one of the best movies of the year. Dune Part 2 definitely takes the cake out of them all. And another year under our belts for movies. For me, those are the top 10 best films of 2024. If you like this video, click that like button and subscribe to my channel for more content. Comment down below, what did you think of my list? Do you agree? What is your top 10 favorite movies of 2024? Let me know if there's any movies that I left out on this list. Come back and check out some other movie reviews such as Sonic 3, Gladiator 2, and Wicked. I'm so excited to talk more movies with y'all in 2025. Happy New Year's in 2025, and we'll see you on the next video.